Is what it ain't. Take a bath, but you still stink. Jay the dude that go hard in the paint. About to get into another reaction video. Let's try to see what we gonna upload today. It'll be in the description. Like, comment, subscribe, all that. Without further ado, let's get into it.
You guys are shooting the wrong guy. And I wanted to stop and turn around and say, look, you guys are, I'm Doug. Everybody likes Doug.
Can police track down a would-be killer before he reaches his target?
Watching Doug go through being hunted like an animal was very painful. It was crippling.
Let's get it.
Fayetteville, Arkansas. Home to the University of Arkansas. In this small southern town at the foot of the Ozarks, big city crime is rare.
It historically is fairly quiet. Of course, when you have as many students on campus as we have here, I mean, you're going to get a lot of complaints.
Everything from noise problems, which are always big on the college campus, to harassment, mischief, just normal everyday calls.
But the normal, everyday pace of student life is turned upside down with one frantic call to 911. Police get a call about a shooting at the student apartments. And with that one call, this small town suddenly has a big city problem. EMTs arrive first on the scene. They find 31-year-old law student Doug Norwood wounded and bleeding. University of Arkansas Police Lieutenant Jim Swearingen is sent to track down the shooter.
Hey, we got two attackers, one victim, shot twice, one's in the back, one's in the leg.
Doug had been shot, and he had worked his way out of his apartment and downstairs and across the street. Someone called 911 so he could be transported to the hospital.
EMTs furiously work to stabilize the victim.
Doug's injuries consisted of one being shot in the leg and through the side, plus other injuries that he had sustained from the fight trying to defend himself.
His attackers are nowhere to be found.
It was apparent that the assailants had taken off.
As EMTs rush the victim to the hospital, Swearingen takes a closer look at the crime scene.
Well, we went to the apartment and looked. Sure enough, everything was just like he had explained it. Coffee table was broken, glass every place, furniture overturned. You could tell if he tried to put up a defense for himself. Looks like it was quite a struggle.
Yeah, he was shot during the struggle and ran out.
Since there's no sign of forced entry, investigators wonder whether Doug Norwood knows his assailant.
Usually in the event of an altercation that happens inside a residence, you would think of the people involved are probably known to the victim.
Normally, you don't just open up the door and invite people in that you don't know.
Doesn't look like anything's been taken.
And Swearingen's instincts tell him that this wasn't a robbery or a random attack.
It didn't fit the mold of the normal, what you would call crime of opportunity. This happened during the day, broad daylight. It happened in an apartment complex where normally there are a lot of people present.
Okay, as soon as you all get up and talk to him, you sure you're back with me, okay? All right.
It was unique, and the facts surrounding it were also unique. You don't see this every day. You don't see this once a year. As a matter of fact, you probably don't see this in a couple of years.
Detectives' first step, to see if any of Norwood's neighbors witnessed the crime.
How long have you been here today?
After the shooting occurred, we canvassed the area, talked to everyone that was home in the apartment complex and even neighbors of the apartment complex.
But no one has seen or heard anything that can lead them to the attacker.
I didn't see anybody. Okay, thanks, sir. Thank you.
No one knew if this was a random crime or if Doug was the target.
Investigators know that the victim, Doug Norwood, holds their best hope of solving this case.
You always want to try to get as much information while it's still fresh in your mind. That's the best information you have to go on.
They head to the hospital to see if they can talk with Norwood in person.
It's important to talk to that person as soon as possible because every hour that passes by makes it a little tougher. And so talking to him as soon as the doctors allow it, that's very important.
When they get to the hospital, detectives find Norwood conscious and eager to tell them what happened.
The morning that I was shot, it was a beautiful morning. There was a couple of knocks on the door, and I answered the door, and there were a couple of men standing there. They told me they wanted me to help them find another law student.
Norwood claims that when he invited the two men into his apartment, they suddenly attacked him.
One of them reached over and touched me right here on my shoulder with a stun gun. And whenever he did that, I reached up and kicked him in the chest. And I got up and I ran to the door.
Norwood was running for his life.
About the time I got to the door, they started shooting at me. I can remember running down the balcony thinking, you guys are shooting the wrong guy. And I wanted to stop and turn around and say, look, you guys are, I'm Doug, everybody likes Doug. You just got the wrong guy. You're at the wrong house. But luckily I was able to run. And believe me, when somebody's shooting at you, you'd be amazed how fast you can run.
But no matter how fast he runs, Norwood can't escape his attackers.
I looked down, realized I was shot in the chest. My shoe was full of blood. I was just standing there watching literally my life just, bleed away.
It's a dramatic story, but investigators wonder whether there may be more to the attack than Norwood is telling.
We did think that Doug was probably holding something back.
Norwood claims he's never seen his attackers before, and he has no idea why they want to kill him.
I mean, you would think that he would have some knowledge of something, but he wasn't able to give us anything.
Is Doug Norwood hiding something from police? Fayetteville, Arkansas has been rocked by the shooting of law school student Doug Norwood. And everyone in the small college town is worried about this crime.
Anytime you have a crime such as this one where someone goes into an apartment and attempts to kill someone, it causes a great deal of concern, not only in the community, but also with your local law enforcement agencies, because we know the person's still out there, they're large, and they can do it again.
Norwood isn't able to tell investigators too much about who shot him.
With Doug still proclaiming no knowledge of who was trying to kill him or why they was trying to kill him, we didn't have any leads.
They try to jumpstart the case by taking a closer look at the victim. Is there someone out there who would want Doug Norwood dead?
When we started checking on Doug, we did find out that he had been a prison guard.
Norwood worked in the yard in a Florida prison. Did a convict track him down looking for some payback? It's a possible motive.
There was a possibility in our minds that someone may have come from Florida in retaliation for something we may have done.
But when they checked with Florida Corrections, Norwood comes up clean. Not a single prisoner had ever filed a complaint against him.
We found out there was no instance that Doug had been involved in that would warrant someone trying to kill him.
And 48 hours into the investigation, the police still have no suspects.
At that point in time, we still didn't know what the reason was behind the attempted murder. No one really could understand why someone was trying to kill Doug.
But a day later, police get their first big break. And it comes from Norwood's girlfriend, Kathy.
Kathy had mentioned that maybe her estranged husband may have been involved in this. And that's what changed our focus to looking at Larry Gray.
Kathy's ex-husband, Larry Gray, is a Tulsa, Oklahoma businessman. His relationship with Kathy has been rocky since the very beginning.
Wow.
Larry and I met when I was 19. We married within a year. And then after about 3 months, he had some other woman. He was a serial philanderer. He went with other women all the time. But I could never catch him.
Finally, Kathy had gotten tired of Gray's cheating ways and told him that she'd had enough.
It was a mental struggle. I couldn't listen to his lies. I thought, I'm 30 years old. I've been miserable for 11 years. I'm getting a divorce.
Kathy and Gray had been separated for almost a year when she started dating Doug Norwood. Kathy feels certain that her ex-husband has something to do with the attempt on Norwood's life.
I knew Larry was capable of being a bad guy. Larry was a very controlling person. He was very jealous, although I just didn't give him much reason to be jealous when we were truly separated. And I would decide to move on. He just never would let me go.
And there's something else that makes Kathy suspicious.
The divorce was supposed to be final on the day Doug was shot.
Did Larry Gray's jealousy drive him to try and kill Doug Norwood?
Wow.
When we finally was able to put Larry Gray as a possible suspect, we had a direction to start moving on.
Investigators drive 3 hours from Fayetteville to Tulsa, Oklahoma to take a closer look at Larry Gray.
Anytime you have a person as a suspect, you always want to meet that person face to face.
They asked Gray to meet them at Tulsa Police Headquarters for an interview.
Do you know who Doug Norwood is?
Yes, I do.
And what's your opinion of him?
I don't like him.
He didn't think very much of Doug. I think he was under the impression that Doug was involved in drugs, and that was an area that concerned him.
But Gray denies that he disliked Norwood enough to try and kill him.
Everything pointed to that.
He denied any knowledge or any involvement in this case.
No, sure not.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
When pressed harder, Gray surprises investigators by cooperating.
If I asked you who'd be willing to take a polygraph test, what would you say?
Call my lawyer.
He volunteered to take the polygraph test. The results of the polygraph test are usually 85–90% accurate. It's used as an investigative tool. It lets law enforcement to know if they're going in the right direction.
Do you intend to answer truthfully?
Yes.
Have you lied to authorities about this case?
No.
Do you know anything about attempted murder in Norwood?
Doug Norwood has been shot. Investigators believe his girlfriend's ex-husband, Larry Gray, might have had something to do with it. But Gray has volunteered to take a lie detector test to prove his innocence.
Is your name Larry Gray?
Yes.
Do you know anything about the attempted murder of Norwood?
No.
Finally, the test is over. Is this handsome ladies' man telling the truth?
Larry Gray passed the polygraph. It was disappointing. We were surprised because we felt that we were going in the right direction.
When I heard that Larry had passed the polygraph, it did not surprise me at all. He was a pathological liar. He would lie when there was absolutely no need to. He was raised to lie. And so he was very, very good at it.
But with no eyewitnesses and no physical evidence linking him to the crime, investigators have to let Gray go.
Our question was, where do we go now? What direction do we focus in now? And so we was again searching for more information.
Less than 1 week later, the mystery surrounding Norwood's shooting takes a dark turn.
You know, what was your emergency?
We had a call here at dispatch about the explosion in the parking lot. And as soon as the call came in, of course, we went rushing out there to see what was going on.
Investigators arrive on the scene, and they find themselves face to face with someone they already know, Doug Norwood.
I had parked my vehicle down at the university football stadium, and so while I was in class, somebody had wired a bomb in it. The bomb was up under the front door, and the bomb went off. And what it did is it caught fire and made a huge, loud sound, and it blew out a bunch of the windows and vehicles around the car, but it set the car on fire.
When that explosion occurred, there were people close enough that they heard and saw it, and saw Mr. Norwood get out of the car and walk away.
Police are starting to wonder about Norwood's bad luck.
In consideration of the crimes that have been committed against Doug, the shooting and the bombing, there was again some skepticism. I mean, how could you be that unlucky to have these things occur? We've had cases before where people have staged crimes for a variety of reasons. One, for sympathy from someone, just to try to get someone else in trouble. We approached Doug and requested him to take a polygraph test, and Doug agreed to take his test.
Doug Norwood arrives at police headquarters to clear his name.
During the course of the test, Doug was asked questions about his knowledge of who may have been involved in this case, why that he was a target, and relevant questions.
Do you know the person who is trying to kill you?
No.
Did you stage these incidents?
No.
The results are analyzed. The answer is in. The polygraph shows Norwood has been lying.
As a result of his polygraph results, we were a little more skeptical. Doug's credibility was in question.
I was hoping it would be a turning point, and it turned out that it made them suspicious of me. They just knew that I had more information than I did, and I really did.
Norwood believes that his girlfriend Kathy is right, and that Larry Gray is trying to kill him.
Larry Gray was always a suspect to me, because of the way that I knew that he had been treating Kathy. And I knew that I didn't have any enemies. I didn't owe anybody any money. Never had a crossword with anybody. I mean, there's no reason for anybody to, continually try to kill me. And so, yeah, in my own mind, I thought, I have no other enemies. It's got to be him.
And Doug Norwood is deathly afraid that if he lets his guard down even for a minute, he'll be a dead man.
It was bad. I mean, there's just no way to put a happy face on it. The police didn't seem to be helping me. And so I knew that I would have to do something myself to either trap these people, get them to make a play somehow or another.
Will Doug Norwood be able to protect himself from the man he suspects is trying to kill him? Someone has tried to kill law student Doug Norwood twice. Norwood believes his girlfriend's ex-husband is behind this murder plot, but he can't prove it to police.
They were not very interested in helping me. Whenever I would tell them stuff, they would just write it off as paranoid.
Doug Norwood believes it's just a matter of time before someone else takes another shot at him.
I was scared. I was scared every day I went to school because I didn't know who I was looking for. I didn't know if it was going to be a man or a woman. I didn't know if it was going to be somebody dressed up in a suit, some guy wearing, overalls. I didn't know who I was looking for.
Watching Doug go through being hunted like an animal was very painful. It was heartbreaking. After the bombing, obviously his fear ratcheted up more.
Norwood is determined to get police to take his claims seriously. He keeps reporting other suspicious incidents.
Every week we'd get at least 2 or 3 calls. This went on for quite a long period of time, and everyone was getting a little bit tired of it, just because nothing he was calling in about was ever checking out.
Finally, Norwood gives investigators a tip they take seriously. There's someone following his car.
The day that Doug called us here at the office and told us that there was a vehicle following him, I jumped in my car and drove to the area that Doug described. We decided we were going to stop the vehicle, but if this was actually someone who was involved in trying to kill Doug, we knew there was a possibility of weapons being involved. So we decided at that point in time to follow him for a while, get him off of the campus.
Investigators carefully approach the vehicle. And when they ask for ID, the driver shows Swearingen a police badge.
I asked for his driver's license and registration.
The man's name is Michael Wayne Jackson.
He informed me he was from Texas. He was a retired police officer. He was coming up to the university to check in the law enforcement program.
An officer peers in the car, and he knows immediately something isn't right.
Okay.
There are 2 semi-automatic rifles sitting in plain view.
Ooh.
The AR-15, which was on the passenger side, the muzzle of the weapon was pointing down toward the floorboard of the vehicle. He had it partially covered with a jacket. The MAC-10 was under the driver's seat.
Why would someone with 2 assault rifles be tailing Doug Norwood? Cops haul Jackson in, and they get right to the point.
And first he said, "I'm not going to talk to you." So I asked him, "You don't have to say anything to me, because with the weapons you have, fully loaded and chambered, well, I can convict you. I can get a conviction."
How can I get out of that? I don't want that.
Okay, the only way you're going to be able to help yourself, Mike, is by telling the truth.
And Jackson quickly points the finger at someone else for the murder attempts on Doug Norwood's life.
The first things that Mike disclosed to us was that he was actually hired by someone to have him kill Doug Norwood.
Investigators ask who that someone is.
Tell me who hired you to kill Doug Norwood.
And Jackson gives them a name that's all too familiar.
Larry Gray,
Took her in the trash.
Kathy's ex-husband in Tulsa, Oklahoma, was the person that had hired him.
He told me he wanted to take care of somebody.
Larry Gray had actually orchestrated all 3 attempts on Doug's life, and he had been in contact with these alleged hitmen and had paid them and contracted them to come to Fayetteville and to kill Doug.
Doug Norwood and his girlfriend Kathy were right all along. Gray was consumed with jealousy, and he wanted the law student dead.
They had the firepower, they had the ability, they had all the equipment they needed to kill Doug. So this could have been it.
Jackson's statement leads to the arrest and conviction of Larry Gray and 4 other would-be hitmen. Larry Gray pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit murder, and he served 15 years in prison. Doug Norwood finished law school and is now a partner in a law firm in Fayetteville. He and Kathy were married a few years after the murder attempts.
Looking back over it, it was a miracle that on that particular day, these detectives decided to go out there and check that car. They didn't have to. You know, just a phone call from somebody that they've got 100 phone calls from in the past. But, yeah, they saved me. And believe me, I realize it.
Frank Collada was a member of one of the most dangerous mob crews in history.
Frank was cold-blooded, he was a killer, he was a criminal. I had no remorse.
He follows his ruthless mob boss, Tony the Ant Spilotro, to Las Vegas for a glittering opportunity to live the high life.
First year in Las Vegas, it was good, made a lot of money, did a lot of partying, did a lot of gambling. It was very good.
But his hopes for hitting the jackpot died.
But then it got to be very bad.
When his boss decides to take him out.
Clean your dirty laundry.
But breaking the mob's code of silence could mean the death of his dark American dream and the end of the entire Chicago outfit.
Do I consider myself a rat? Yeah, absolutely.
In Chicago, thanks to bootlegging, Tommy guns, and extreme violence,